Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story is one you won't want to miss, full of emotion, misunderstanding, and one very unexpected twist. Just when things were starting to grow between Tan and Han, someone new suddenly appears, and not just anyone. Who is this mysterious third person? Why did they show up right when Han was trying to do something special for Han? And most of all, what exactly did Dieuhan see that made her stop in her tracks? Heart racing and expression frozen. Let's dive into the moment everything changed and find out what really happened. The morning sun had barely crept over the rooftops of the small town when Dieuhan stepped outside, carrying little Tom in her arms. The world was quiet at this hour, save for the occasional chirping of birds and the rustling of wind through narrow alleys. It was a familiar road, one she walked every day. She reached the wedding photo studio, a modest shop tucked between a bakery and an old convenience store. It belonged to Dieuhan, had started helping out there recently, cleaning and tidying up in exchange for a small wage. Every bit counted. She set Tom down in the corner, handing him a soft toy and a small snack before rolling up her sleeves. Dust had settled again overnight. She moved briskly, wiping the counters, straightening photo frames, and sweeping away what the wind had blown in. The studio had a warmth to it, the kind that lingered after laughter and memories. Pictures of smiling couples lined the walls, their joy frozen in time, untouched by the hardships that filled Han's own life. A while later, the door creaked open. Thu stepped in her eyes, scanning the spotless studio with a nod of approval. She was always composed, sharp, but kind, and today concerned. "You haven't been going to the modeling school lately, have you?" Thu asked, setting her bag down on the counter. Han paused, brushing her hair from her face. "No, I've been busy." "Busy?" Thu pressed gently. Han looked down, then back up with a quiet resolve. "I'm looking for my parents. I don't know where they are, but I can't ignore it anymore." There was a long silence, filled only by the soft hum of the studio's ceiling fan. Thu understood. She didn't need the whole story, she could see it in Han's eyes. The kind of grief that doesn't scream, but settles deep and never leaves. Lepko didn't press further. She reached into her purse and handed Han a small envelope. Payment for the cleaning. "Thank you," she said. "If you're free later, stop by again. We can work on your modeling together. And why don't you leave Tom here this afternoon? You'll be back anyway." Han nodded, touched by the offer. "Thank you, Thu." She kissed Tom on the forehead and left him with Thu, stepping back into the sunlit street. But instead of going home, she turned onto a side road that led to the outskirts of town toward the pineapple fields. The walk was long and the road dusty, but she knew every step. By the time she reached the field, the sun was higher and the scent of ripe fruit filled the air. She greeted the farm owner respectfully and offered to work for a few hours. He agreed, and without delay she began picking pineapples. Her hands swift and careful. Each fruit was heavy and spiky, but she moved with purpose. Her basket slowly filled the weight on her shoulders, growing with every step through the rows of green. She barely stopped to wipe the sweat from her brow. There was something calming about the work, something honest about trading effort for sustenance. When her basket was full, she hoisted it onto her shoulder and made her way toward the town market. The streets were busier now, vendors calling out their prices, customers bargaining with practiced ease. Han moved between stalls, offering her pineapples to juice vendors the ones who would pay a bit more to resell them at a markup. She didn't mind. She wasn't looking to get rich, just enough to feed Tom, pay a little toward rent, maybe save a few jong for her next search. It was just past noon, and the sun outside was merciless. Not that Tho cared. He was holed up inside his small apartment, eyes glued to the glowing screen of his laptop, fingers dancing across the keyboard as he fought against the weight of another deadline. He was deep in the zone, a prisoner of his own ambition. That's when the door creaked open and his mother, Mrs. Koa, stepped in. "Tho, you've been staring at that screen all day," she said, crossing her arms. "You work like this in Saigon all week and now even the weekend. Come on, take a break. Go out. Meet someone. You won't find a wife buried in spreadsheets." Tho barely looked up. "I'm swamped, Mom. My boss keeps piling on deadlines. I can't afford to slack off." "That's exactly why you should step away," she replied, her voice both firm and motherly. "You're always locked in this apartment. How are you supposed to meet anyone if you never go out?" He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Even if I did go out, I don't know anyone around here." Mrs. Koa smirked, revealing a small shopping bag from behind her back, like a magician pulling a rabbit from a hat. "Funny you should say that." Tho raised an eyebrow. "What's that address?" she said with a grin. "For Han, the girl who helps out at the wedding photo studio down the street." "Sweet girl. Hardworking. Thoughtful. Just your type." He leaned back in his chair, arms folded. "Why'd you buy her address?" "I bought it for you to give to her," she replied, matter-of-factly. "What? No way. You like her? You give it to her." Mrs. Koa didn't budge. "I didn't buy that dress for me to give to her." What would that say? That her friend's mother is giving her clothes? That's awkward. It's from you. That's how this works. Tho shook his head. "I don't even know her. All the more reason to start. Go over there, hand her the dress, and introduce yourself. Be charming. Be polite. Who knows, you might actually like her." He opened his mouth to protest again, but she shoved the gift bag into his hands before he could get a word out. "You've been working like a machine for weeks. Just do this one thing for me," she said softly, almost pleading now. "For once, live like you're part of the world outside your screen." Tho looked down at the bag, then up at his mom. Her face was hopeful. Not pushy, the kind of hope that carried more weight than guilt or pressure ever could. "Fine," he muttered, standing up reluctantly. "But if this turns into a disaster, I'm blaming you." It was just another hot afternoon in the sleepy neighborhood when a small truck pulled up outside Han's modest little house. The engine rumbled to a stop, and the back gate clanked open, revealing piles of fresh lumber stacked high. Standing beside them was Han's shirt, slightly rolled up, sweat glistening on his brow, focus sharp as ever. He had been planning this for weeks. The front porch was weathered. The side walls were beginning to lean, and the fence had long given up on standing straight. Han never complained, she never did, but Han had noticed. And now, while she was out selling pineapples at the market, he decided to surprise her. Quietly, diligently, he began unloading the wood, stacking it neatly beside the house. The heat didn't bother him. He wiped his hands, walked into the kitchen, and pulled out a long carving knife. He brought it back outside and began sharpening the ends of the post's swift, clean cuts. Focused, intentional. This wasn't just a repair job. This was him showing he cared without needing to say it out loud. Across town on an entirely different mission, Tho was riding his motorbike through dusty back roads, a pastel gift bag swaying from the handlebar. He slowed down at every corner, pulling over now and then to ask passers-by, "Excuse me, do you know where Han lives?" Eventually, someone pointed down the road. The house with the old picket fence. Can't miss it. Someone just had a load of wood dropped off there. Tho thanked them and drove on, humming to himself, adjusting his sunglasses in the rearview mirror. His mom's voice echoed in his head. Just give her the dress. Make a good impression. Try to act normal. Easy for her to say. As he pulled up to the house, he stopped dead in his tracks. Standing in the yard shirt, slightly unbuttoned arms, working the blade over a wooden beam, like something out of a slow-motion movie, was Tha. Tho blinked. And blinked again. Damn, he muttered under his breath. Who is that? That man is ridiculously good-looking. Instinctively, Tho ducked behind a tree, clutching the gift bag like it was a lifeline. He pulled out a small mirror from his pocket. Yes, he carried one and checked his reflection. Hair slightly off. Lip balm needs retouch. He quickly fluffed his bangs, dabbed a little color on his lips, and straightened his shirt collar. Then he paused, posing briefly to the tree bark. Okay, Trin, you got this. With exaggerated confidence, he strutted over to Than and gently tapped him on the arm. Than jumped, slightly startled. Whoa, can I help you? Than asked, wiping sweat from his brow. With a little tilt of his head and the softest voice he could muster, Tho smiled. You can call me Trin. Than squinted. Wait, what I said, don't call me An or anything like that. Just Trin is fine. Tho replied, fluttering his lashes slightly. Okay, Trin, Than said slowly, unsure whether he was in the middle of a prank or a hidden camera show. So, what brings you here? Tho said sweetly. I was looking for Han. This is her house, right? Yeah, you a friend of hers. You could say that, Tho smiled. We haven't talked much. Yet. But today might change that. Than raised an eyebrow. All right. Well, it's blazing out here. You want to wait in the shade. Before he could even finish the sentence, Tho had already grabbed his wrist lightly but firmly and pulled him under the nearest tree. The shade didn't help much with the heat, but that didn't stop Trin from dramatically fanning him with his hand and reaching up to smooth back a lock of Than's hair. You really should take better care of yourself, Trin whispered, squinting as if worried. Than stiffened like a man who'd just stepped into a minefield. I'm fine. Really? That's when Han turned the corner. Her basket, once full of pineapples, was nearly empty now. Her feet were dusty, arms a bit sore, but there was something peaceful about coming home after a hard day's work. That peace, however, evaporated the moment she laid eyes on her front yard. There, under the tree, in a posture that could only be described as suspiciously intimate, was Than, flustered, slightly red in the face, and beside him, a stranger delicately holding his hand and smoothing his hair like a scene straight out of a romantic drama. From a distance, Han's eyes narrowed her expression, shifting from confusion to quiet disbelief. The way Trin gently touched Than's arm, the overly familiar tone, the way Than stood frozen like he didn't know what to do, it all painted a picture she didn't expect. Wait, is Than gay? The thought hit her like a cold breeze in summer. She stepped back, heart tangled in a mess of surprise, disappointment, and awkward curiosity. Meanwhile, Ta, still under the tree, hadn't even noticed her return. He was too busy trying to escape Trine's unexpected affection without being rude. But what would happen when he found out what Han had seen and what she thought? Would he explain himself? Would she believe him? One thing was certain. Then had no idea the misunderstanding that had just begun and how it might change everything. Stay tuned.
Ở đó dưới gốc cây, trong tư thế chỉ có thể được mô tả là thân mật một cách đáng ngờ, Thành bối rối, mặt hơi đỏ mặt. Bên cạnh anh, một người lại nhẹ nhàng nắm tay anh, vuốt tóc anh như một cảnh trong phim tình cảm lãng mạn. Từ xa, mắt Hân nheo lại, biểu cảm của cô chuyển từ bối rối sang sự hoài nghi lặng lẽ. Cách Trinh nhẹ nhàng chạm vào cánh tay Thành, giọng điệu quá quen thuộc. Cách Thành đứng im như không biết phải làm gì, tất cả đã vẽ nên một bức tranh mà cô không ngờ tới. Đợi đã, Thành có phải là gay không? Ý nghĩ đó ập đến với cô như một cơn gió lạnh mùa hè. Cô bước lùi lại, trái tim hơi bối rối trong sự ngạc nhiên, thất vọng và tò mò ngượng ngùng. Trong khi đó, Thành vẫn ở dưới gốc cây, thậm chí còn không nhận ra cô quay lại. Anh quá bận rộn, cố gắng thoát khỏi tình cảm bất ngờ của Trinh mà không tỏ ra thô lỗ. Nhưng điều gì sẽ xảy ra khi anh phát hiện ra những gì Hân đã nhìn thấy? Và những gì cô nghĩ anh có thể giải thích không? Liệu cô có tin anh không? Có một điều chắc chắn, Thành không hề biết sự hiểu lầm vừa mới bắt đầu và nó có thể thay đổi mọi thứ như thế nào. Hãy theo dõi phần tiếp theo.